Steve, let's start off by trying to find some people to blame for the mess that we're in. Who do you think we should blame?
Well, I have a controversial and maybe not a self-satisfying blame, which is I think we should blame ourselves. I think we, for too long, treated our houses like ATMs. We overspent and borrowed too much and bought things from abroad under inappropriate labor standards that we probably shouldn't. This is the schlock in front of Lowe's that your kids often pester you to buy. And we've overspent, and the government encouraged that. So I start by blaming ourselves, to be honest, Eric.
Blaming ourselves? Are you blaming me also? I think of myself as a financial genius because I bought my house and a couple years later it was worth twice as much as what I paid for it. So, but then a couple years after that it's back at what I originally paid for it. So maybe I'm not such a genius. But
Yes.
But blaming ordinary, everybody. I don't know what to say about that. Of course, some people have been responsible. Some people have been greedy and irresponsible. But it's not. I don't know whether it's so useful to blame people because ultimately what we want to do is talk about what the government should do, and it's not clear, at least in a democratic society anyway, that if we're to blame for our bad behavior, we're gonna tell the government to discipline us.
Well, I think that's a very good point, and I think one of the things that we have to do in this financial crisis is stem backlash and stem people from looking backward in some sense. Although we should for any reform, but we should look forward in terms of seeing what the errors were of the past to correct them. And I agree with you that today the solution, for good or for bad, lies with the government. And how the people interact with the government.
Well, let's go into more detail, though, about your original point about who to blame. So clearly we can't blame everybody. Not everybody acted irresponsibly. There are a lot of people out there who saved money, who did not buy houses that were too expensive. There are a subset of people who overconsumed. But a lot of those people, at least the story is, were misled. They were misled by bankers and mortgage brokers. They signed papers that they didn't really understand very well. And I'm not sure. I'm sure. Then, of course, there are people who were speculating and so forth. But I'm not sure. Should we blame a lot of these people who bought subprime mortgages? Maybe they were just misled, or we simply can't expect people in that position to make the sort of sophisticated financial decisions that let's say finance whizzes can make.
Well, that may be true, but I do like to think that we don't have a paternal government. Nonetheless, I think that you do make a point, which is it's not just all of us to blame; it's subsets in a sense, and one of the subsets has been the mortgage lending industry, and it's become clear, I think, and you can agree or disagree, that the standards in that industry, which was underregulated, allowed for practices which, to say the least, were deceptive sometimes and lacking fulsome disclosure. And in a sense, they fell through the cracks of the regulatory scheme and leveraged that to sell products that, you're right, people sometimes didn't understand. Some did, but some didn't.
So a number of these people engaged in pretty straightforward bad behavior, fraud, and I'm talking about the mortgage brokers and the loan originators engaged in various types of bad behavior, which is illegal already, or is close to being illegal. They engaged in fraud, or they engaged maybe not in fraud, but deceptive practices. But that wasn't the only problem. That happens all the time in all economies, and the law can go after people like that and reduce that behavior to some extent. But I think people tend to blame the financial industry more than these loan originators, the investment banks, the people who run banks, the people who evaluated risks in banks, and certainly the rating companies. What about those people? Should we be blaming those people, or were they just acting rationally given the regulatory structure that they were working under?
Well, I'll give you my opinion, Eric, and I'd be interested to hear yours. And I think what happened is the securitization process, which is 30, 40 years ago, we had the It's a Wonderful Life model of banking. You saw your banker on the street, your banker knew your finances, your banker was worried about you repaying the loan because it was already paid to the bank. That just no longer exists. Now,
Jimmy Stewart character, he was kind of a crook anyway.
Yes, I like the alternative views of Jimmy Stewart that are emerging, and the fact that Jimmy Stewart would probably be one of the people villainized now in our universe.
Shoddy banking practices, giving loans to sympathetic people without checking their income and assets and so forth. But anyway,
exactly. No. We all want to live in Potterville.
Me definitely. Yeah.
But what I think is is that the beauty of securitization is they take all of these loans, they pool them together, and they sell them to investors. And it allows for two things. One, it allows for better pricing of risk because you have more people assessing the price. And two, it allows banks to extend more mortgages because they move the mortgages off their balance sheets. Unfortunately, what happened here is that the banks became more concerned with selling the product than whether it would be repaid. And these are externalities that the banks leveraged off of. And what they did is they packaged these products and they didn't properly assess the risk.